Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 52 of Ono Anime, the podcast. It's 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2018, and my name is Mark.
And I'm Patrick.
Welcome in, everybody. We are neck deep, ankle deep, and the rest of the body deep in the winter 2018 season. This is, God, is this the third year we've been doing this now? It feels like it. I
don't want to think about that.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't, on the grand scheme of things, we have not been doing this podcast for very long, but just to think about the fact that we have been through so many of these seasons because we are
it's almost like there's a new one every 3 months or something.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But I just, I want to say, straight off the bat, because I know a lot of people that listen to us are probably wondering, unfortunately, no, we are not talking about Devilman Crybaby on this episode.
Actually, neither of us have even watched it.
No.
I'm kidding, no.
That is
I've watched it twice.
Very not true.
I've watched it twice.
We are trying to plan something really special for what could be the next episode. I don't want to give anything too solid right now because nothing is set in stone, but just know that we are working on something big and cool for an entire episode. At least the idea is an entire episode dedicated to talking about Devilman Crybaby, because there is a lot to talk about with that show. It turns out, and it blew up Twitter. I hate this term, but it broke the internet.
Yep.
It Kim Kardashian to all of us.
There's some good memes.
Indeed. But today's episode is going to be solely dedicated to talking about all the shows that we have seen from the winter 2018 season, which is almost all of them, I would say.
Yeah, there's a couple I've missed.
Almost all the ones that started, at least.
Thanks Fate for screwing everything up.
Yeah, that's the one thing that has not started yet.
Doing what they want to do.
You can be damn sure that there is a Shaft Fate show happening. We will be talking about it at some point on this damn podcast. But anyways, without any further ado, let's jump in and start with the show that nobody has been able to legally watch without the use of a proxy yet.
At least not in the States.
Not in the United States. Actually, only in the United States. It's called Violet Evergarden. It is Kyoto Animation's new hot shit. It's their new thing. It's the new big drama on the block this season, even though, none of us have been able to legally watch it without stealing some Canadian Netflix. Because, Netflix Canada is simulcasting it.
We just need to annex them.
Yeah.
That's how that works. We get their licensing rights if we annex the nation.
Can they annex us? I would prefer that.
Yeah, that would probably work better.
I would love to be part of Southern Canada.
They should try burning down the White House again. It happened once.
Yeah. Which
War
was that?
of 1812.
Yeah, I was going to say, we should War of 1812 this motherfucker again.
Anyway, I guess this is about the anime, not about annexing the states.
Yeah.
I've only seen the first episode. It was, we all knew it was going to be pretty. I just didn't expect it that pretty.
I think it is, I try not to use the term groundbreaking lightly, but in terms of a TV anime that looks like this, I mean, it's so rare when you see 2D animation that makes you blink and be like, was that 2D? What am I looking at? That's kind of my reaction to the first two episodes. As of right now, only 2 episodes have aired. I want to say, right?
Yeah, only 2 episodes.
Only 2 episodes have aired.
I think the Netflix grabs it Thursday because KyoAni normally runs on Wednesdays.
But it's a very pretty show.
I'd actually, I wouldn't say take offense, but I'd refute groundbreaking only because groundbreaking normally means people are going to build on it and nobody else is going to draw this many fucking lines.
True. That's true.
There are a lot of lines.
Well, yeah, and it's really a product of Kyoto Animation's very unique infrastructure for how they make anime. I mean, they're one of the only studios that can afford to not only announce an episodic anime that far in advance, because it was announced probably
It was over a year ago.
Yeah, over a year ago now, and it was also like most of it was done.
Yeah,
close to that, too.
they showed the first 2 episodes, and from my understanding from people who watched them, they showed the first 2 at Anime Expo.
Yeah,
and not a lot has changed. And this is the reason that they're able to do that is not only because Kyoto Animation just schedules really well, which they do, but because they're different than everybody in that they don't have a production committee. Literally, they run everything, including a publishing company. They publish these books, and they have this like long contest for authors. What's so interesting about Violet Evergarden, half the reason it was hyped so much is because this is the first grand prize winner they've had from their book contest. We've had a lot of runner up over the boundary, across the boundary. Kyokai no Kanata was one.
Beyond the boundary.
Beyond the boundary.
Yeah.
There we go. Chunibyo was one. That was another like first prize, but this is the first book that they had where they felt this is high enough quality to win our grand prize, which is why they have gone all in.
Yeah. And all in, they definitely have gone. They certainly are throwing a lot of time and talent and, yes, money at this thing as well. And yeah, it is already a feat of 2D animation.
Just that time lapse scene over the harbor.
I
Holy
mean,
shit.
anytime I see Violet's hands animated is just incredible because, I mean, so rarely do you see, you know, when something like that dynamic is animated, it usually, due to time constraints or due to labor constraints or whatever, or just constraints on the animator's skill a lot of the time, is lacking a lot of effects. Usually it's very dull. There's not a whole lot of color or refraction involved.
We should back up and talk about what you're talking about. So Violet Evergarden is the name of the titular character.
Oh, also we should say spoilers for everything that's airing this season.
So Violet Evergarden is the name of the character, and I was under the impression from all the promotional stuff that we've seen that she was an actual a cyber doll or automatic doll. What do they call it?
Auto Memories doll.
Auto Memories doll. So I thought she was actually like a cybernetic thing. No, turns out she just grew up in the military, more or less.
Yeah.
And she lost her hands.
Lost her arms.
Yeah, her arms. And she doesn't know like anything about how to live, and this is her finding a job post-war delivering letters and writing letters for people who can't read or write. So it's somebody who doesn't have, or doesn't think that they have a lot of emotions or thoughts themselves, discovering parts of their humanity through other people.
Yeah.
So what Mark was talking about there was how her, cyber hands look.
Yeah, I mean they're not really like cyber hands.
They're more Victorian. They're steampunk.
They're more akin to
it's all like Victorian style.
Edward Elric's hand from Full Metal Alchemist.
They're pretty steampunk.
Yeah, they're very like retro futurism in like a very steampunk sense. I don't really know what like moves them technologically, but basically my point being is that you can tell this show is of the utmost quality when something as frequently animated as someone's hands are so not only lovingly cared and like constantly on model, but also like chock full of very detailed and involved effects, which is like that's really hard to animate in 2D, is like, a lot of very like dynamic and interesting effects, especially something as crazy as reflection, because like reflection is literally you're animating not only the environment and the object moving through it, but also the environment being reflected on the moving object. And with something like a hand, which is like any artist will tell you is one of the hardest things to get right to do. So I think, there have been like multiple like threads I've seen about just like how long some just very particular cuts from the first 2 episodes actually took them to put together. And it's like Pixar
when you have
level,
literally
like,
forever.
Yeah, they've been working on this show for years. So it's been it's clearly paid off. The show looks beautiful.
It's great because we don't, when something looks that good in the first episode, my immediate thought is, oh man, this is not going to keep up. But because it's KyoAni, it's just like, oh, it's going to look this good for its entire run.
Yeah, there's probably one thing that Kyoto Animation almost never suffers from nowadays, at least, and it's drop in quality from first episode. It's everything they make looks good, and it continues to look good through. But
I think one of the things I like more about the fact that it looks good is it fits the setting really well. So we've got Violet Evergarden in a almost like Victorian setting, where things are very ornate. The dresses are insane. There's ruffles everywhere. And, one of the things that's most obvious when you're looking at this is just the sheer line count and everything, and being able to draw those details and keep them up, especially in motion, just kind of adds to that whole atmosphere in a way that you really wouldn't expect.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of 3D in that first episode. Most of the environmental shots tasteful. Are very much digital, animation, but the cool thing about it is that they take a very similar approach to like how Ghibli has always done their 3D, and it's just very unobstructive. It's very
it's tasteful.
It's tasteful, and it's not obvious. I mean, it's obvious to someone who knows Sakura, but it's also like impressive to see when you can make 2D and 3D mesh as well as they do. It's always cool. So yeah, it's I mean, it's like, it's one of those shows that's it's so good, and it's so unsurprising that it's so good, because we literally have been hearing nothing but stellar things about the show for a year. So at this point, you just kind of sit back and you watch and enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to rip my heart out, because that story, just the basis of it is brilliant to set up, good episodic stuff, a la the beginning of Plastic Memories. Hopefully, it does a little bit better than that on the tail end. But I like the
everything end.
Yeah, I like the idea that they've set up here. It's brilliant framing, and the first episode was really good. It didn't hit me as hard as I thought it would until the very end. Like there's a scene where Violet as a child is like fighting through a warfield. It actually reminded me of Wonder Woman when they're like crossing no man's land.
Yeah,
it reminded me a lot of that. And I hope we get to see them kind of flex with the action there as well. Probably won't, because it's not supposed to be a very actiony show, but I love the way that they're already able to frame these hard-hitting emotional stories.
There's definitely a very impressive flashback fight sequence in the first episode. I'm interested to see more. Honestly, it's one of those shows where the flashbacks are every bit as compelling as the current day stuff. So I'm very interested to see where they go with this, because I sure don't know. I sure don't know where they're going. Anyways, the next show that we are going to talk about is A Place Further Than the Universe, or Yorimo.
Or, as I've taken to calling it, Antarctica Girls.
Yeah.
That is a hard name to remember. Yeah, it's Yorimo.
Yeah.
The show is fucking great.
Yeah.
This is I've been watching the show at lunch during work, and when I do that, I'm normally very quiet because I don't want to disturb anyone. There hasn't been a single episode where I've done that and I haven't actually laughed out loud.
Yeah,
it's the comedic timing is really good. The characters all mesh extremely well. It's a fun watch. It's
kind of crazy how much the show reminds me of Love Live in the way that it has constructed its characters. It is. The girls are all so weird and like eccentric in the way that they walk and talk and act. That is very similar to Love Live, although probably a little bit more human, because this is a lot more of a human story than Love Live is. But I think it also helps that the guy that did like the actual soundtrack, like not the music of Love Live, but like the soundtrack, the BGM of Love Live is doing the original soundtrack for the show. So there's like a lot of that same emotion is being compelled.
It's scored.
Yeah, it's scored very well. It's scored very like inspirationally in the same way that Love Live is. The main character reminds me a lot of a slightly more toned down version of Chica. I mean, they're very similar tropes to what are presented in that show. And I'm not meaning, this is like not me detracting, like trying to detract from this show's like originality at all. Cause like you'd be hard pressed to find a more original concept than a bunch of girls go to Antarctica. In anime. Like,
that's
what
kind
a
of
crazy
nuts for an anime.
Yeah, what a crazy thing to talk about. But it's a really well produced show as well. I keep forgetting that this is a Madhouse thing.
Yeah, that's
is not super weird.
They normally do.
Yeah, Madhouse is usually like kind of the they truck in manime a lot. Let's just say it. They have their serious kind of grim dark big bombastic productions, and that's kind of what they're known for. And then to see something like this come out of them is pretty cool. I really like the colors on the show.
Yeah, it's kind of muted, which is funny because
a lot of pastels.
The non-Madhouse specific staff, specifically the women that are on it, generally go for much brighter colors. I know they worked on No Game No Life and Hanayamada, which are very well known for their palettes, really. And this is very muted, but it's still exciting and works well.
The director's name is Ishizuka Atsuko.
There we go.
Yeah. And yeah. I mean, she definitely, probably those two, Hanayamada and No Game No Life, particularly extreme examples of use of color in her work.
That's what everybody expected when we saw that they were doing an original.
But I think the use of color in this is no less vibrant. I think probably she toned it down because it was like a grounded real life story.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the kind of the mood that the colors give you is just this kind of calming, bubbly, optimistic, inspirational, not necessarily like bombastic, but just very pleasing. It's very pleasing to look at. Everything is like the art direction, the use of color is very nice. Like I don't know how else to put it. It's just really cool.
It's just like the music. It fits well, and it's a big part of it.
It's helped by a good story so far. I really like the premise a lot.
It's really good, and the way that they're actually getting there, it turns out, is surprisingly like realistic. The expedition is hurting for money, and they figure, let's get a celebrity there. A celebrity is a child celebrity that doesn't really want to go, but says she'll go if we can bring these people too.
Her friends.
Like, perfect. That was a lovely little side story, and that brings me to definitely my favorite thing about the show. While all of it is well put together, the scripting and the acting is incredibly tight.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, the comedic timing is absolutely amazing. The way the girls play off of each other is something I haven't seen since like K-On! Like it's pretty much perfect. It's it's fun. It brings a bright smile to my face, and I'm looking forward to more of it. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. I like I'm always a sucker for like the what do you call it? Like the whole people brought together by a certain set of circumstances that otherwise would never have spoken to one another. It's sort of a ragtag bunch. I really like that. I can't remember her name, but the girl that works at the convenience store is definitely my favorite.
Yeah, she's good.
Really
the smart
cute.
one.
The smart one who
dropped out of school.
Didn't drop out of school though, like fucking got her like whatever the equivalent of her GED is, and then is just like taking a gap year before she goes to college.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's cool. I mean, they're all awesome. They're all very good girls.
You didn't see the third episode yet, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay, the chief of the expedition comes out, and she's like a badass woman who wears suits and has like a mole under her eye, and is voiced by Mamiko Noto. So there's your new favorite character.
Oh, sweet. Cool. All right. Well,
it's good.
We'll leave off on that.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Oh God, I don't want to burn all these really good slice of life shows.
Yeah, we can skip around.
Actually, you know what? Let's just go through an order. There's so much good to talk about here. All right. So the next one I want to talk about is easily one of my favorites so far this season.
So comfy.
Eurocamp.
Yeah.
Eurocamp.
God, it's comfy.
Yeah,
Eurocamp. That's really the only word I can use. I'm sorry.
Laid back camp. I don't think I'm ever going to call it laid back camp. It's Eurocamp.
Too much fun to say.
Eurocamp is a great name for a show. So yeah, this is a camping slice of life show, which, holy shit, it is. Everything about the show is so. It's fua time all the time on Eurocamp. There's not a single bad character on the show. They're all wonderful and lovable. You can already tell that there's going to be some serious character development with the main character.
Nadeshiko.
No, the other one.
She's Nadeshiko isn't the main one?
They're both kind of the main character.
You're talking about the one that starts out camping.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can already tell that she's kind of coming out of her shell, and it's really nice. But it's just, obviously the entire premise of the show is to just be as comfy feeling as possible. It's
great because it's camping set in winter.
Yeah, cold weather and fires and tents and making like hot pot out in the wilderness, and also all real life locations, which is super cool to see because I definitely looked up Fumoto Campground from the past 2 episodes, and real. It is one of the few times I have ever seen an anime not look more pretty than the actual location. the actual location is somehow even more crazy looking than the anime. It is just an amazing campground.
It makes me want to camp, which is something I haven't felt ever. I hate camping. Camping is awful.
Every once in a while, I get a bug up my ass to want to camp, and I do genuinely like it. It's just like getting to the point where actually camping is such a fucking nightmare hassle in the state of Florida, and also the state of Florida doesn't have any good places to camp because we're literally sinking into the Gulf of Mexico and surrounded by poisonous animals and animals that want to snap onto your arm and rip it off. Like, it's fucking... Florida sucks. Now, if I lived in Tokyo or a suburb of Tokyo or at the fucking base of Mount Fuji like these girls do, I would be camping every goddamn weekend because the Japanese wilderness is among some of the most beautiful, exotic, I think, looking. But it's kind of hilarious too because obviously like Japan has a huge camping infrastructure and it's like a lot more organized and nice than ours is. Like, it's not like a bunch of fucking KOA bullshit. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with KOA, but that's more like an RV type place. But all the campgrounds that they've showed in this show so far have been like super homey. Like, they seem like family businesses, but they all look basically like what you would expect a campground to look like.
Only
which is
so many different things you can do at a campground.
It's just, but it's cool because they also have like, you know, full like bathroom facilities and like some of them have like a cafeteria, which is like super interesting. But it's like, especially Fumoto Campground, the one that they show in that show, like I've seen pictures of it like during summer when it's like packed. It looks like a fucking party because, you know, obviously like they have RVs in Japan, but they're like way smaller. They're more like just like big vans. And people just pull up and like stretch a tarp between them, and that's the tent. And then you just just literally go there for a weekend and sit there and drink all day and just constantly
stare at Fuji.
And stare at Fuji, which is the most beautiful sight you'll ever lay your eyes on. And you like, I can't imagine waking up, unzipping my tent, and fucking Mount Fuji is there.
That'd
like
be awfully nice,
wreathed in cloud.
Yeah,
like, so that's the kind of feeling that Eurocamp gives you. Is this just very
slows
homey.
Your heart rate?
It's you know, it's kind of the camping version of Amanchu. Like, Amanchu is to diving as Eurocamp is to camping, but I almost feel like I definitely like Eurocamp just a little bit more already than Amanchu.
We'll give it a few more
Plus,
episodes.
Eurocamp is a little more purposefully cute.
Yeah.
It's less focused on the quirks of its characters and more focused on the mood that it wants to set and like the
it takes it slow.
Plus, I am much more comforted by the idea of camping than the idea of plunging into the ocean because I fucking hate the ocean.
Sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah, it is.
The thing I like most about Eurocamp is actually the amount of like technical work that's gone into depicting them setting up the camps.
Yeah.
Every time they've done it. In fact, they've even used some like stock footage. I noticed a little repeat in there, but it's really nice because they don't skip any steps. You know, you've got somebody like somewhat narrating it and it's really, really well animated. The one thing I wish they wouldn't do is give pine cones a voice and then burn them.
That was really funny.
Because that's the only inanimate object they've done that to. And they keep on doing it. Like, anytime a pine cone shows up, it's just like, yo!
Yeah.
And then they burn it.
Domo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
it's fucking weird.
It's weird. But no, the amount of care shown into that specifically is really, really nice. I love when anime is about something so niche and they really, I don't want to say push it because it's just a nice show about camping, but they show that they care about it. And there's actually a YouTube like companion channel to this where they're going through every episode and talking about the locations, and they have the technical advisor on the manga go through and talking about like specific different types of tents and stuff, which has been a lot of fun.
That's so fucking
Supposedly
cool.
They're bringing on the voice actresses in some episodes too. So that's
also,
gonna be neat.
like, I feel like going to a camping store in Japan, if you want to go camping, would be like, this makes me want to go to Japan to go camping. Because it seems like camping in Japan is just so much like more organized of an activity than it is here. Like, I feel like it is here. You like go to Walmart, you buy a $10 tent, and you like go somewhere where it's like just a fucking field, and you like don't pay to get in. You just like walk in. Like, hope
this place is mine now.
Hope you don't get attacked by an alligator in the night. Where it's like, here you go, and they like feed you, and you know. It's just, and it's like the most idyllic, beautiful location you could possibly imagine. And like Also, Japanese-made camping equipment seems way fucking better than anything like Coleman makes.
I can't pretend to know anything about anything in that regard.
All those tents in that show look so fucking cool.
Even the 1,000 yen one?
I've never seen. Yes. They all, because I've looked at a lot of pictures of tents in Japanese campgrounds since this show started, because I was like, fuck, this is so cool. Like, I don't know anything about.
If you're listening to this episode instead of watching, I'm cradling my head.
But they fucking have some wild tents over there. Tents that I've never seen anybody
Funny, I'm
use.
pretty sure Wild Tents is the name of a new J-punk band.
Yeah, 12 Tents. Yeah. That's actually what we like to give you every day is Wild Tent, as in content.
Before we move on, I do have to say I really love this. Remind me of it. The opening theme is literally just like a Jackson 5 song.
Jackson 5 song.
And
basically.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
It's called like Shiny Days or something.
Yep.
And it's wonderful.
It is literally called Shiny Days. It's a great show.
Every day with an episode of Eurocamp
this show
is a shiny day.
This season is absolutely lousy with good slice of life.
It's a very comfy season.
And
I like it.
I really am liking it so far. Overlord 2.
I saw the first episode and liked it. It was more of the same. Reintroducing some of the characters.
It's more Overlord, but guess what, Patrick? We got buff lizards now.
Oh yeah, I forgot the second episode or the first episode ended with that. Is the third one out yet?
I don't.
It had a weird release schedule because I watched the first one because there was like a pre-release.
I want to say it is, but yeah. I also have we been doing this for 2 weeks or 3 weeks? I can't remember.
I've seen episode 3 of a few things.
I know.
But Overlord came out early was the issue. They had a pre-release episode that I watched.
Yeah, episode 3, Lizard Men Gathering. Okay, I have not seen that one yet. Yeah, no.
That's a good name, Lizardmen Gathering.
So when they announced this, a bunch of people on the anime subreddit were commenting like, "Oh yeah, I hope y'all are ready for basically nothing but buff lizard men because that's basically all season 2 is, or that's basically all the next part in the manga is."
I have to admit, I have been in a complete vacuum for this season, and I'm enjoying it a lot more than reading comments.
Yeah. I mean, I just, this was like 6 months ago when they announced this. And that was basically the only thing that I had seen regarding like what happens next in Overlord.
Buff lizardmen?
Lots of lizard people. And they were not lying. That's basically all the second... literally the entire second episode minus maybe one part was all lizard politics. It's... I don't understand...
Was it good?
Yeah. It's all right. I mean, it has some very anime moments.
Okay, on a scale of like Kill or Kill first episode to first episode of Fate Zero.
Oh, I mean, I'd put it at a...
Because it sounds closer to Fate Zero. I got Tokiomi walking in a circle explaining things. This is a bad
comparison because I have come to like that episode simply because when you finally get to the summoning sequences, it feels like you're coming.
I mean, yeah, but that doesn't mean I want to go through all the work first.
I don't know. I'd give it like a Fate Zero +2, but only because you should have never said Kill Kill episode 1 because
that was just like a crazy bombastic first episode where a lot of good fun things happen versus exposition that's really hard to care about.
No, most of the show so far has been nothing but exposition and setting.
Is it hard to care about or is it actually gripping?
No, I mean if you saw the first season and you liked it and you liked those characters, there's more of those things.
Okay, I'm just worried about Lizardmen taking it over because I do like the first characters.
I am worried about that too. I am hoping that they strike more of a balance than the second episode presented because Momonga or whatever his name is, Ainzul Gal, did not appear once in the second episode. And granted, I'm a big fan of shows that manage to pull that shit off. Like, March Comes In Like a Lion does it all the time, doesn't show his protagonist for multiple episodes.
You also just called it Lizardmen Politics.
I mean, it is Lizardmen Politics. It could be setting something up that is interesting. I also have an inherent bias against Lizardmen because I find them weird and creepy. And it has
like a much different take on it. They have like the noble lizard man, whereas we have like the D&D take.
Yeah, I don't understand the Japanese's obsession with lizard people in fantasy media. Like it's such a universal trope in every fantasy anime I've ever watched. There's at least one lizard man character, and they're always my least favorite. And granted, these ones have been all right so far by my standards, which is a fucking glowing review. But I could see it going in an interesting place. And there was just, look, Patrick, there's some like lizard mating ritual stuff in the second episode that was a bit strange.
Is it all lizard men or are there lizard women?
There is a lizard woman. Oh, no. There's multiple lizard women. Okay. There's like a bunch of like elders in the like main tribe. I like...
now you're getting into lizard man politics. This is my trap.
I like some of the characters that they've introduced, specifically in the protagonist and his tribe. I like some of them. I like the protagonist a lot. He is definitely like a very honorable. He is the honorable lizard man trope, and I like that. I have a big affinity for honorable characters, and I like the female. I like the female one too that he meets, who's like a chief of another tribe.
Okay.
I like the politics they're setting up. I'm probably more interested in the idea of the characters that we already know. I'm interested in seeing how they become intertwined, because obviously...
Okay, that was my next question. Do we know how the lizardmen are related to the main plot?
We don't know, as in we haven't been told yet, but I have a suspicion. I mean, it's obvious. So in the first episode, at the very end, they introduce the lizard people.
Yeah,
at least this one tribe. And this thing descends from the heavens that looks like the egg of the king from Berserk. And it basically says like, "Fie on you! I'm gonna kill you."
Yeah.
And whatever.
Did it try to like convert them to a religion or something?
No. It basically was just like you could either run or die.
Okay.
And in the second episode, they realized that the thing said you will be second, which means that there's 5 lizard tribes, and this thing is going to go and kill them in order according to its rules. So they basically work out like, okay, there was a huge war many years ago, and it wiped out a lot of tribes, and a lot of tribes, like the power dynamic has shifted, and they don't really have a great lay of the land on it. So they send the main lizard man out, and his plan is to try to bring all the tribes together to fight this thing off, because he's concluded that the only way to do it is fight. So clearly something is going to happen where...
Momonga's going to save him.
He's an honorable man. He's saved people in the past. So clearly that's probably going to happen, or he's going to become involved somehow because it's some sort of world-ending power or whatever. I mean, it's fairly obvious to see how these events could be, tied to the main characters, but we have seen relatively little of them.
Another thing I'm worried about is they leapt into Lizardman politics, but there was also like that entire new faction in episode 1 that took up half the time.
Oh, there was like they introduced the possibility of like multiple new factions.
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying.
They finally gave a complete layout.
I love that, because I know there's a lot of novel content to go through, but I'm worried about it with the pacing in an anime. I don't want to get bored waiting for what I knew I liked in season 1 to happen again.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend as if I am that interested in lizard men.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I think fundamentally they're like reptilians in general are such a hard thing for us as humans to identify with, because they're like almost written into our DNA. It'd be
a lot easier if Hillary the lizard woman was our president.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like they're historically mistrusted and feared by humans.
Yeah, like I said a minute ago, it's weird because in the U.S. at least, in most of our cultures, like lizardmen are like, we have like the D&D trope where they're dumb barbarians, and in Japan for whatever reason, it's always like the noble lizardmen. I don't know how that happened.
They're like in Western media, it's almost universally like seen as like they're like conniving or slithery, venomous, literally or figuratively. So it's certainly interesting, and I appreciate like a different perspective. Like I don't want to always see stuff that is similar to Western media, even though Overlord obviously is taking a lot from Western fantasy. I'm interested to see where it goes, but yeah, I have the same fears as you. I don't know if this lizard man thing is going to work out, and frankly, I care a shitload more about the people in Nazarick than anyone else.
Absolutely.
So I'm interested. Although I do like that they teased that the king wants to thank.
Yeah, I was very interested in that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that plays out, because that already is an interesting dynamic that you wouldn't think would be there, because usually like the evil sorcerer trope or like the dark sorcerer trope is pretty at odds with like kings and noblemen.
Yeah.
And he has like a pretty good relationship with them. So
did he save them while doing sorcerer shit, or was he in his like knight gear?
He was doing his sorcerer biz before he even kind of like it was like one of the first things he did in the first season was save that platoon.
It's been a while. It's been a minute.
Yeah, he saved like cool like commander and his men from some shit, and now the king finally wants like the word has gotten back. And
I was about to say, speaking of cool commanders, we should move on.
Yeah, we should. We should talk about Record of Grancrest War, which is a spiritual sequel to Record of Lodoss War, which is probably the fantasy anime.
It's the fantasy like thing in Japan. It's their deal. It's their dealio.
It is most certainly the most revered fantasy anime of all time. I mean, it is legendary.
Yeah, it is some good shit.
And Grancrest War is certainly serving up on its namesake.
Trying. I'm really liking it, and I mean, I'm predisposed towards liking like high fantasy anyway, but
I'm not, and I'm loving it.
I'm loving
that should tell you all you need to know.
You want to talk about some politics? I'm loving it in this, and we are just getting into it too.
It's doing a thing that I really like in high fantasy stuff and not necessarily getting bogged down in the variety of things. Like that's something that I feel like Overlord a lot of the time suffers from, is just like every fucking character on screen is of a different race or make or model or whatever, whereas like this is focusing on humans. And
we have humans and we have chaos.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be like an elf eventually.
I mean, Warhammer did it first, but you know, we can.
This is actually same chaos. Little known fact.
Yeah, it's the ruinous powers, of course. Slanesh.
Anyway, we should talk about the show.
Yeah.
So Grancrest War, I love how they've been setting it up because I'm going into this blind. Like I know Lodoss War obviously, and I love it, but this is set up. I almost feel like I'm playing a like turn-based almost Civ game, because you've got this small power, you know, soaking up and devouring the powers next to it to fight the major power. And it works in this world where you have a leader and you have their like sworn mage, and they go up in like classic noble ranks. You have like Viscount. I don't even know how to say that word.
Viscount. It's Viscount.
Viscount. Yeah. You got like dukes. You got barons. You got kings. It's like this really interesting feudal idea built into how their magic works, where all these nations have a crest and you can like pledge fealty. Yeah, it's interesting to do that, and they make some fun things happen. They flip your expectations on your head with it. Yeah, I mean, like even in like the second episode where they get their first like big attack, and then at the very end the Lord is just like, you know what, you're cool, I'm in. Let's do it. I'm one of yours now. I loved that too. Because I kind of knew that was going to happen because they're all in the opening and stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, they need a fucking crew. It's not going to be them versus the world. Yeah. And the crew that they have assembled is very good so far. Yeah. I'm really enjoying all these characters. You got the crazy assassin guy. You got the batshit insane woman with the axe. Aishella. I want to say her name is. Yeah, she is awesome. So 100% my shit. I said it on Twitter the other day, but I honestly feel like I'm being called out for my taste in anime women, because she is everything that I want in a wife. She's pretty great. So good, like covered in tattoos that also grow and move, because she's possessed or some shit. I don't know. Well, she was like in training to be a mage, and then she's stopped. There's like a specific word that Saluka says at some point that this is definitely a show that throws proper nouns at you. Well, yeah, it's like a specific thing that they've made up. I can't remember what it is, but it's basically like something that's like a mage, but more like almost like a battle mage. It's a battle mage, yeah. But something involving demon possession, probably, because she has tattoos that moves, and everybody knows that means demon. It means get the fuck out. And she can take out like a platoon herself. She does. You have, we are our main characters are definitely the hero units in our turn-based game here. Yeah. They really, really are. Yeah, this is just a giant RTS it's cool though, because as they're taking over other lands and, you know, more people, it does show the ground troops too, which is really neat. Yeah. It is the action is great. The animation has been fantastic so far, which I'm happy about. Yeah. The cast is top notch. You really can't beat it for what it is. And they just, in the last episode that I saw at least, introduced an interesting new premise with the like religious order of the crest. Yep. Which is kind of like a monastic order that is kind of at odds with the Mages Association, which
is A Tale as Old as Time, Song as Old as Rhyme, Beauty and the Beast. And
Yep.
yeah, it is like a Christianity analog, but instead of worshiping God, they worship the crest, which they believe is like divine
it's
power.
how magic works in this universe. It's all through crests and stuff.
Yeah.
I love the dynamic between the main character. I cannot think of his name in Silica. Yeah, exactly.
Almost came to me. Lord something.
Lord, yeah. Except his rank just changed at the end of the last one.
Well, they just call him Lord. Like that's just the kind of the catch-all.
But so our main character here is kind of a bit of a nobody in the beginning. He's got a sword and he sets out on this mission to save his country, his village rather, because they have a shitty lord. Theo, there we go, Lord Theo.
Or
they have a shitty lord that doesn't protect them from the chaos, just high taxes and all that. So he sets out and winds up running into Siluka, who is this mage who is about to be forced to be sworn to somebody that she doesn't want to work for. He goes and like tries to protect her because he's that classic fantasy character, and he's not horrible, but he's not really good at it. And Siluka is like, wait, I have my way out.
She sees the potential within him.
Yeah. So she pretty much like gives him this crazy ass test that almost kills him. He passes it. She's like, all right, cool. And then she kind of takes the reins from there. Yeah. And says, here's what we're going to do. It's going to help me and it's going to help you and you're going to like it.
Here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
You're going to help me and I'm going to help you.
It might have been on purpose. It wasn't.
Hamilton.
Yeah. Just go ahead and call me Lin-Manuel.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jesus.
Record of Revolutionary War.
No, I like it because there's a lot to be said for her character design. It's it's standard fantasy. She's sexy. It's pretty fan service.
It goes. She has two character designs. She has like her Mages Association outfit, which is great and tasteful, and then she has the outfit that the shitty lord that she was originally. She for some reason keeps wearing it. I guess because she says that it has freedom of movement in battle.
Or is it because it looks good for the viewers?
Girl needs to get her some battle. Get her some armor.
I ain't complaining. She's good to look at.
Character designs in this show are really good.
Yeah, but I really do love the dynamic between those two. And at the end of the third episode, I want to say it seems like it's evening out, where she really took the reins and was like, "We need to do this, 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 and this." But now she's starting to talk to Teo a bit more and realize, oh, this guy is definitely worth more than just controlling, which is good because I like seeing the reverse from normal there, but at the same time you need some sort of parody. It's a fun show. Like I look forward to it a lot.
I'm shocked at how much I'm enjoying it because usually I glean very little enjoyment out of fantasy anime, but this has been really great so far, and it's doing the thing that I think is always welcome for me with high fantasy and anime, which is like less focused specifically on the fact that it is a fantasy thing and more like using the fantasy environment to tell a greater story. And that's definitely what grancrest 4 is doing.
Which is fun because it's originally a role-playing game. Yeah. Like not like sit down at the computer. It's a pen and paper. Here's your universe, playing RPG. It. Yeah. It's also going to be 2 cores, which I'm always biased towards. And I'm surprised we've been talking this long without talking about the director. It's funny because we've got this fantasy fair and a lot of the directing is uninspired. You can only do so much with that. It's funny because every once in a while you see this like crazy shot or something that was storyboarded especially well, and wouldn't you know it, the director of Rakugo Shinju is directing this. What a different type of story that is.
Look up his name.
Yeah.
But
sorry, I don't know it off the top of my head. But yeah, it's you see it peek out, and I want to see where it goes as he becomes more comfortable with this story and with his staff.
Shinichi Omata?
There we go. Sure.
Is that his name? Yeah.
I just know it's the same guy.
I'm going to make sure of that.
Yeah, that's after what he did with Rakugo Shinju, it was surprising to see that name here. I was pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, grancrest Senki. Yeah, thanks, my anime list.
Fucking weebs.
Yeah, fucking. It's interesting because I know a lot of people that I follow on Twitter first discovered that director from Rakugo. Apparently, Rakugo is a severe break in character for him. And
really,
this is more.
What else did he do? I saw Arakawa Under the Bridge on that list, but I didn't.
Kind of more his speed, I think. I'm gonna have to hold on.
It's funny because I know I just call it uninspired myself, but it's not like it's bad directing. But there's a few cuts per episode where like either the symmetry is really cool or they use lighting or framing in a good way, and it's just like, give me more of that.
He directed some episodes of Madoka, specifically 4, and storyboarded 5 and 8.
Okay.
Hidamari's Sketch.
Oh, really? That's surprising.
Sankareya.
Yeah, that's completely forgettable.
Yeah. Maho Sensei Negima.
Which one?
Anime Final.
Anime Final. I think that's the Shaft one. So he's done a lot of Shaft stuff.
Yeah.
He's done Arakawa Under the Bridge. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, he's definitely like Rakugo is definitely out.
Yeah,
like
looking at that list for sure. Okay,
for
well,
sure. So
hopefully we see more of that in there.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip discussing Seven Deadly Sids, the season 2, because I've
Netflix.
only seen about half of the first episode so far. So I'm gonna skip that.
Yeah,
Cardcaptor Sakura is good, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of the same. Obviously they had to update the how everything looks. Clamp
It seems to be getting a really good reception so far, though, I think.
Yeah, it hasn't done anything to offend the old fans. It's got just enough mix of like cool throwbacks with some motifs and the music being the same.
The designs seem to be nicely updated.
Yeah, the designs were updated very nicely.
It also seems like the world has been updated a little bit.
They have like cell phones and
wise.
stuff. Clamp always does that.
I've been getting a lot of it through Twitter from people that I follow.
Yeah, I can tell.
So
it's really good. It's really sweet. One of my favorite things about it though is the ending animation is a solo animation by somebody who got their like big break on the original 20 years ago, which is just really, really cool. And honestly is probably one of the cutest things I've ever seen in anime.
That's great.
Just that ending animation is fantastic. I don't have too much to say because I have too much to say.
What
really,
can you
it just
really
doesn't.
say?
It doesn't amount to much. It's just a lot.
It's. I mean, would you say that it is more Cardcaptor Sakura?
Yeah, that's all I wanted. It's my favorite anime. And
What else could you possibly ask for then? Okay, so the next show on our list is Citrus, and we actually got a question. Well, I got a question, but this will apply to both of us since we've both had experiences with the manga. Danny from Anime is Lit wanted to know. He said, I know you're a fan of, speaking to me, I know you're a fan of the Citrus manga. How do you feel about the anime adaptation? Is it an accurate tonal reflection of the manga, or are there elements you wished were emphasized more or less in the anime? So yeah, that's a really good question. Thanks, Danny. And it's actually something I wanted to discuss.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the anime yet. I saw a few screenshots and I was just like, this doesn't look much like the manga, and I like the manga.
Granted, I read probably, I'd say probably the first 2, whatever the first equivalencies of probably like what the first 2 books are here. And then I stopped because the anime was announced and I was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to watch the anime. And yeah, I would say so far I am not particularly unhappy with the anime adaptation, but it is not an accurate tonal reflection. At least I think it's starting to get there. But the first 2 episodes, yeah, it is definitely being made more for a male audience, in the sense that it is much more...
Would you say horny on main?
No, it's
because the manga was a lot like that.
It's trashier than the manga.
Okay.
It's trashier than the manga.
Manga's definitely a lot of smut, but it didn't feel like it was smut for male eyes. It felt like it just was.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Citrus is about as good of a representation of the inherent flaws with the way that Yuri is written and shown in Japan. Because it is very popular, unfortunately, it carries a lot of the pretty severe problems with like portraying those type of relationships in Yuri, Yuri branded manga. Mainly that the relationship is super fucked up and abusive and not realistic in the slightest. And so, you have those inherent problems that were there in the manga. I do think that they have been accentuated in in the anime, because it definitely feels like the anime is doing much more of an emphasis on like the fetishization of the fact that it is, you know, this like taboo and stuff like that. And that's definitely like a central theme in the manga, but I definitely think they're doing this. They're trying to make it appeal more to, you know, outside of a Yuri audience. They're trying to make it appeal more to, you know, men who want to watch women make out, I guess, or, you know, fuck with each other romantically or
I wish I could say that was surprising.
It's not. I mean, and when you look at the sheer amount of talent, like obviously like Takeo Takahashi, the director, is you know, a pretty big name in Japan. He's basically solely responsible for the Spice and Wolf franchise, which is much different and much more tasteful than this. You know, I wouldn't say that this is necessarily a bad anime if you can leave a lot of your, you know, concerns at the door. It is pretty. It's well animated. There's a lot of good character acting in it. The voice acting is not particularly bad, but I think they're definitely the main character Yuzu is a gyaru, which is already like a weird, outdated concept to base a thing on, but also they just play up that shit. Like a lot of the drama and the comedy that happens in the first 2 episodes are, you know, just revolving around like, oh, she's a gyaru and now she's going to like a conservative all-girls school. Like, like that's kind of the whole...
It's funny because these days, while gyarus don't really exist as much in popular culture outside of anime and manga, they're normally used more as like not so much the point of gyaru is the flashiness. It's somebody who was a different way and wanted to change. It's the easiest way to write that trope as somebody who had like they call it in Japanese, they say a koko debut. You know, they debuted a whole new self in high school.
Yeah, that's kind of a trope in that's you see it every once in a while in anime too, of just this like idea of like, especially if you are a transfer student or something, you want to just completely change yourself. The transfer between middle school to high school
is a lot easier, right?
That is not what's
not the case for her. Yeah, no, but I was just saying that could be a part of her character. Now, my question to you, since I haven't watched any of this yet, do you think you would be enjoying it more or less if you hadn't read the manga beforehand?
Probably more. I think obviously you always you know, impose your expectations when you know the work, the original work, and if it's not, you know, what you connected with originally, then you're going to feel disappointment. Yeah. And I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't disappointed that this show wasn't being handled more tastefully. Granted, you know, a lot of the problems that are inherent to this as a media franchise are inherent not only to the entire Yuri genre, but are specifically inherent to the manga. Like that you just like, you know, you can't change them without fundamentally changing what it is. And I feel like if you can get past that, then you're probably going to enjoy it. But it is so far not necessarily a very faithful adaptation tonally. I mean, certainly factually and story beats wise, and they're the same. But there's the way that it's being directed and the way that a lot of the stuff is being played. I feel as if tonally it's a little off. Like I said, I think they're starting to rein that in a little bit. I think they might have gone a little too hard with introducing Yuzu as a character and, you know, kind of showing this environment that she has entered as this almost like kind of absurd, you know, absurdly conservative compared to her being almost absurdly not, absurdly rebellious. But yeah, I mean, like some of the situations already have just been like fucking ridiculous, and also just like horny on main, but not in like a cool way. Just like like all right, guys, like you're trying.
It's not enough. Fuck you, I do what I want way. It's a hey guys, look at me.
Trying a little too hard, but I will say if there's one thing that Passione can do better than anything else, it is make a show like this. Visually, this show is very nice, very colorful. The designs are good and animated well. I really like the look of like skin in this show. Looks very good. I don't know how else to put it.
I sound a little creepy, don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can only sound so not creepy when you're talking about skin. But no, it's, you know, it's I would hesitate to suggest it to anybody. And I certainly am not necessarily super proud that I am as into it as I am, mostly because, I like, if we're talking about Yuri, I like stuff that's a little bit more tasteful, but like, like we all know by now, media does not always necessarily have to be a lighthouse. It doesn't have to guide us.
It's okay to like problematic things.
Yeah, and this is very problematic, but also, it could get better. I don't know. I'm certainly nowhere near as enthusiastic as I was when it was announced.
Yeah. Well, I will probably continue reading the manga then.
Yeah.
I haven't started. Right. I fully intended to. It's just there were a lot of other things, and I forgot it came out.
Yeah, it's okay.
On the back burner.
It's not the worst thing I've seen. Certainly not the worst Yuri thing that I've seen.
Yeah.
All right. You want to talk anything about Mitsuboshi
so
Colors?
Mitsuboshi Colors, I'm a big fan of this like genre, which is cute girls doing cute things, but like younger. That sounded awful. I mean like first grade, second grade, things like strawberry marshmallow and stuff like that. The old school like Ichigo 100%. Those are a lot of fun, and this show in particular, which I haven't started, but I have been watching through Twitter and little cuts, seems like a lot of fun. It's 3 girls that form like kind of like a Sentai group almost, and protect the justice of Ueno Park, which is pretty much going around harassing adults that are like in on the fun and play along with it. It seems like really cute and a lot of fun.
I saw, the only thing I've basically seen from this show are a series of images of them shooting a fake RPG into a policeman's crotch, which is pretty great.
It's fucking hysterical because I've seen that whole clip. Like I said, I've been watching the thing through Twitter. I haven't seen an entire episode, but I've probably seen 20 minutes worth of it.
Good.
They're sitting there, and it's there's like this old man, I guess, that sells toys, and the guy knows this, and he's like, oh, they aren't going to be able to shoot me at all, and he plays along with them. He's acting like he's actually this big evil corrupt officer, because they aren't calling him a bad guy, they literally call him corrupt. They're just like, we need to take you down.
Corrupt.
Yeah. So he's sitting there, and they can't fire it, and they're like, oh, it's a dud, and then he takes it from them, and he's like, oh, the safety was on here. And then gets shot in the nuts. That's even better, because as soon as he recovers, he takes the grenade and like throws it at them, and it's like, oh no, I probably shouldn't have done that. And the girl actually like catches it like she's stopping a sword, which she said she could do, but didn't believe herself. It seemed like I really need to watch it. It seems adorable, and it's just, I'm gonna save it for a rainy day and just let it make my life better.
Yeah, I still, one of these days I'm going to get High Dive. It's a High Dive exclusive.
Great. Every time I look at High Dive, I see like what's actually there. I'm just like, oh shit, I should use this. Like they have Tamako Love Story, the dub, and the sub. It's just like, oh shit, they have a lot of stuff, and it's like $5,
yeah, it's a pretty
$6.
big advantage for them is having access to a lot of that stuff, because they are a distribution company as well as a
they have a lot of like really, really good old stuff, and it's cheap. It's a cheap service, so I need to use it more.
$4 a month or something like that.
Yeah, and until recently, the big drawback is it didn't have any mobile apps. Well, guess what? It does.
Now they do. Cool. Yeah, I'll think about getting on that. Okay. Well, here we go.
The big robot in the room.
Yeah, we gotta talk about the big titty mecha in the room.
I'll come right out and say it. I fucking love it. A lot of people don't, and to them I say, okay. We're talking about Darling
and the Franxx. Yeah, I'm a lot more lukewarm on it than you are, mostly because I thought the first 2 episodes, excluding one fight, were very boring. And I've come to terms with that. I have this thing, whenever Studio Trigger is involved in something, I do more than I ever do for any other studio in trying to like something. And sometimes that fails. Ninja Slayer.
You did give that a much bigger shot than it deserved.
I gave it an entire shot, and that was one entire shot more than it deserved.
Entire shot of Everclear.
Thankfully, I have in the past week or two since the first episode aired, I have learned a lot about this show, and I have learned that, along with many other people, have learned that Studio Trigger is actually not that involved with this production.
They're drawing it.
They have a lot of animators working on this show. Hiroyuki Imaishi is supervising action animation, and that is kind of where their involvement starts and stops. You informed me earlier last week, I think, that Ultra Super Pictures, their parent company, is not even on the production
the
committee.
production committee.
Neither is Trigger.
All Aniplex.
It's all Aniplex, all A1. Most of the heavy lifting, especially in the digital side, is being done by A1 and Kara. Everything in terms of design, principal animation, writing, directing, all not Trigger. And I think, honestly, the further I'm getting into this show's existence, the more I'm starting to think that actually Trigger announcing it and promoting it as heavily as they did has actually hurt the show a little bit. Mostly because
it hurt your reception of the show, but I think it was clearly marketing. If this didn't have Trigger on it and it didn't set your expectation, I think most people would like it more.
I don't know. I think I would probably care about this show a lot less if Trigger wasn't involved, but I also would probably
also wouldn't have the same names. Like you wouldn't have Shigeru Koyama on mech design.
I don't know, because Atsushi Nishigori basically works for A1 and he also knows everybody that's working on this show, and I am starting to highly doubt that a lot of the people that that are working on the show would have probably ever been involved if it wasn't for him. So it could go both ways, but seeing how the majority of the show is being handled by A1, I think it's probably a lot of A1 bringing people in, and I would not be surprised if they were the ones that went to Trigger with us, because they had so many people from Gainax already working on it. I don't hate it. I just I wish it was the more I get into it, the more I wish it was a lot more robots and a lot less people, because I like some of what I'm seeing so far.
There's also episode 2 of a 2-course show.
Yeah. No, I mean, this show has a lot of room to grow. What I'm saying basically fundamentally is I'm not too impressed with what I've seen so far. And I wish I was, because I was expecting a lot out of the show, especially in the early moments. And that's something that I think that is really telling about just how involved Trigger is in the show, is that if there's one thing that Trigger can do, it is make a fucking hell of a first episode of anything. Yeah. And their involvement in the first episode is literally the only thing I could write home about.
The first episode, I have to admit, I didn't like it that much. I was lukewarm on it like you are now. I like the second episode a lot more, which I feel like is probably the reverse of a lot of people. But the first episode, I honestly felt it was jarring and out of place, that action scene. It was just like, oh, look, Imaishi's here, and now everything is incredibly different. I liked how it looked, just not in the context of everything else. It was kind of slow going. Like you said, it was an introduction of the characters, the idea of the parasites. We're setting up 02. Oh, she's going to change up everything. And then you had the fight scene. It felt like it was there because they felt like they needed a crazy fight scene for an episode 1.
Yeah.
I think if maybe they hadn't done that, it might be doing better. But the second episode I liked a lot more, maybe because they didn't shoehorn a crazy ass action scene in there. You had one small mecha fight that ended in 10 seconds, and it was more about the people inside the mechs than anything.
Yeah, I just don't really. Why? That's the thing, is why have Trigger and Imaishi involved if you're not going to do big bombastic fight scenes? Imaishi specifically, he is the big bombastic fight scene guy.
So what it comes down to is that didn't bother me nearly as much, the lack of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I so far what I'm seeing of the not mecha parts of the show.
See, I also like that. I love all the characters. Really. All of them have something to do with their numbers, which I love in the beginning. We have some very clear character tropes. You have the guy who's obviously pride is going to be his downfall. The other pilot, the one who's making fun of Hiro the whole time. You have Hiro, who is he's not much of a character yet. I think he'll get there as soon as he realizes that he wasn't the one piloting. There's no way in hell he was the one piloting in the first episode.
Obviously not.
Nah, 02 was fully in control there. And I like the way all the other characters mess with each other. Ichigo is really good. I'm looking forward to the glasses character. I can't even remember his name because she dominated that pair. I'm looking forward to see how he's going to deal with how she deals with not being able to make Hiro work the way she thought. I think there's a lot there. More than anything, the reason I'm liking it so much is because I'm excited to see where they go with this idea.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that a lot of what we've seen evolves and changes, and I'm sure it will. It's just what direction it evolves and changes into is up for debate. It's just disappointing for me to see a bunch of characters whom probably 3 years ago when I started this podcast, I really would have liked and thought were interesting and cool, and now just seem like every Gainax and Trigger drama trope thrown into one giant basket. And like I think it'll get there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think most of your problems is not starting like a Trigger show, which is fine. That's what you were expecting. It's not what you got.
Yeah, well, it's just not that interesting to me so far.
Yeah,
like,
I'm really liking it.
And I honestly, the further I got into it before it started, I was expecting less Trigger because I was realizing how little they were actually involved with the story and stuff, and more like actual like Gainax and stuff. But even that hasn't necessarily, that expectation hasn't necessarily been met, and it just seems, I don't know, it seems hollow. Like it seems pretty shallow. I didn't get that feeling so far. I none of the characters are really connecting with me. Everything just seems a little too purposeful. I don't know. Like,
I feel like it's too self-serving in trying to get to like the weird pistol stamen sex thing.
No, I don't know. I mean, like that. Yeah, there's obviously like a huge problem with like the whole, the cockpit for sex thing. Cockpit is fucking ridiculous. Like there's no bombacity to back such a ridiculous design decision up. Like I saw that and laughed, and then just kind of sat there and was just like, this is like, I think
the
really
design
dumb.
of it is enough right there.
Yeah, I mean, like
that and the gender-coded training machine.
I know they're trying to make some sort of
it'll get there, allegory, and that's enough for me to enjoy it.
Yeah, I just
it sparked a lot of discussion, which is another thing I like when going into something early. God knows people are talking about Darling in the Franxx. I haven't been paying attention to what they're saying because I'm just like, I like it. That's good enough for me.
Here's as best as I can articulate my problem. That cockpit design thing is such a like it.
Hang on, real quick, for anybody who isn't watching it, we're talking about this because the cockpit. It's always two people. It's always a boy and a girl. The girl is on all fours with her ass out towards the guy, and then like controls extend from her ass, and the whole thing is about like them being together.
A hood extends over her head, so you can't see her head or face, and then it's just screen is just on the back of her head. So it's very much like face down, ass up, doggy style. Yeah, like that's just fully what's happening. I think. I'm so used to, especially when all of these people are working on a project together, which many times they have, I'm so used to a certain way of presenting that type of information where everything else is so ridiculous already that seeing that type of thing is simply just a natural extension of what's already happening. I mean, shows like Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill and everything, they present that sort of weird fan service stuff alongside of everything else, and because everything is so crazy and ridiculous,
this one it's obviously the focus.
This one is like it's trying to be an incredibly grounded, serious show, and then you have that, and that's.
I don't know if I would agree with the grounded seriousness just by the way that the characters are drawn.
But there's
a lot of comedy in the way the characters act.
Sure. But there's zero comedy in the writing and the way that they're voice acted, and
I would disagree with 02 slathering the honey on the food, and the way everybody reacts to that. That was obviously a comedic moment.
I guess I don't know.
Maybe you didn't find it funny, but it was there.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily call it comedic as much as I would call it like just pure characterization. I mean, she's just she's fucking weird.
I would definitely consider that comedic, especially when you add all the other characters over the top.
I guess
anime reactions.
Maybe for this show, yeah. Maybe for this show, that is what the level of like comedy is. But it seems like a very measured thing, especially for like literally everyone that's working on this show. And then just to have something like that presented with like such a little amount of pomp and circumstance and like absolutely no like examination of it, which is what, you know, Gainax and Trigger are both so good at doing, is like presenting you with a thing that is super fucking ridiculous and then just smashing you over the head with how ridiculous it is. Whereas this is just like, here it is. And that was super,
enjoy the ass.
Is super, super jarring to me. A little bit of that locker room scene smacked of, there's a scene in the second Rebuild movie where Asuka's putting on that weird test plug suit.
Yeah.
Reminded me a lot of that, but even that was somehow
that was gratuitous,
less weird than Darling in the Franxx. I don't know. It's Darling in the Franxx is very clinical. Like, it's very, like, it feels like I'm watching everything happen under like hospital lamps.
I feel that with the first episode, not the second one. Like I said, I disagreed with how the fight broke out in the first one. Really, I didn't feel like it fit at all, and it did feel like that was a calculated move to do that. The second episode, I think, felt a lot more natural, even with the crazy, you know, piloting. And I think it's going to grow from there. I actually think the show's going to be really damn good.
I hope so, because if this did not have basically everybody that I care about in this industry working on it all at once, I'd be giving it some second thoughts, and like a lot of people that I know are, and that sucks because I was really excited for it. It's just hard when a show does not have a strong first showing and also shows its hand so early, and I hope that it evolves past that. Like I've been saying on Twitter a lot, we still have not seen the inside of Strelazia, which is the main mecha. We haven't seen the cockpit.
That could be entirely different.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that a lot of people are holding out for is the idea that this show could actually be very subversive. It could be, you know, checking gender stereotypes and actually turning all the stuff that it's initially introducing on its head.
I'd be surprised if we didn't see any of that. Even maybe not so much like flipping the gender roles, but even Strelazia we know can be solo piloted.
Yeah.
And Ichigo solo pilots theirs for just like a minute in the beginning, and it might be, you know, more about taking your own sexual agency than anything.
Yeah.
I would like to see that.
I really do hope that that's the case. Unfortunately, the people that are working on this show are not necessarily known for their subtlety in storytelling or otherwise, and I think that was pretty well on display in the second episode, where like I think somebody said it best, where it's just like, you know, everybody's freaking out about how like Devilman Crybaby is like very subtle about like all of the like sexual stuff that it throws at you at times, and then you have Darling in the Franxx where it's literally just like, here's people fucking face, doing doggy style in a cockpit. Yeah. Like there has been zero subtlety so far in how this show has presented its characters and its themes, and that's fine. Like I like that. I like that a show can be that brazen about something. I just, you know, I would not. My advice to everybody thinking that is, I would not fucking hold your breath, because that's not what any of these people are known for, and that's fine, because they have made really good stuff in the past, and I have faith that this will be, if nothing else, a really great mecha show. Like, it'll have great action. I can't speak to anything else.
I say 2 out of 26, and we should probably wrap it up and move on.
Yeah. All right.
Here we go.
Yeah.
This is one. This is actually one of my favorites this season. This is Ryuo no Oshigoto. Or is it Oshigoto or just Shigoto? I don't know.
Oshigoto.
It's this is the shogi show of the season.
The Ryuo's work is never done.
As I was telling Mark, I said I haven't voiced my opinion on this because I don't want to be crucified at the lolicon stake. Come on, Mark, fuck off with that shit. So this is like I said, I don't want to be crucified at the lolicon stake because there's a lot of that. Unfortunately, I wish the characters weren't so young. But this is a show about the youngest, or rather, he's the best shogi player in Japan. He's got the title of the Ryuo, and he's 16 years old, and he's in the middle of a slump, and a 9-year-old girl who watched his title match shows up at his door and says, "Take me on as your apprentice." And she is incredibly skilled. Like, she just has the fucking talent. And he sees that. He didn't want to do it, but he saw that from point one, and like his shogi mind took over and was just like, oh man, we can do this. We can turn her into this crazy professional player. And from then on, it's played like a sports anime, with like crazy. It's like sake mahjong almost, with a lot of over the top stuff. All the characters have like their specific things that they're good at. She's really good at concentrating and seeing a few moves ahead, where, you know, you got somebody else who's good at just like completely relentless attacks without thinking ahead, so you can't read into it. But a lot of people aren't watching this because of the character designs and the lolicon stuff, and I can't blame them for that, even though the show doesn't actually do anything with it. In fact, it's a punchline, everybody else calling him that, where he's just like, screw off, I'm teaching them shogi. But one thing that's important to note about this, especially for Western fans, is that it has been the highest ranking light novel for a long time now. It's at the top of the This Light Novel is Amazing ranking, which is it's like sales and ratings and like reader surveys and stuff like that for the last couple of years. And the other ones, I know I list some of them in there, but like Spice and Wolf, Sword Online, Index, those are all other light novel series that have topped that list. So this show is doing like gangbusters in Japan, while most people are ignoring it here. It's good because we're into episode 3 now, where everybody who has read it is saying, yeah, it's still not even good yet. And I've been at the edge of my seat since the end of episode 2. It's been really good. If you guys like aren't feeling the show at all and you're worried about that, I implore you to actually not even like watch the first 2 episodes. Watch like the first half of episode 3 and see the atmosphere of it and see if you're into it. I really, really think it's worth a shot.
All right. I have nothing to add.
Yeah, that's good. That will be the hill that I die on.
All right. Let's talk about After the Rain, or this has a Koyame.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is one of the only shows that actually one of 2 shows that Amazon actually managed to get before Anime Strike was no longer a thing. But this is about a 17-year-old girl that has a crush on her 45-year-old boss. And that sounds like if that sounds like a thing that you don't think that anime would handle very well, you're actually wrong this time, because this is so far, shockingly to me, is one of my favorite shows this season. It is a Noita Mina show, so it is very much meant for a outside of anime audience, or much broader audience. Usually, you know, that's the type of shows that they put in the Noita Mina block. It's animated by Wit Studio, whose name has come up many times on this show before, but they animated Attack on Titan, Ancient Magus Bride, Kabaneri. They've done a lot. They've settled, Wario no Seraph. They have settled into a groove in the past year or 2, thankfully, have managed to just consistently crank out really good looking stuff that has not suffered from noticeable drops in quality like some of their earlier work. And I have a feeling that this is going to be among some of the best looking stuff that they ever do, simply because of the first 2 episodes the character designs are incredible. They're something straight out of like an 80s shoujo manga, including like fashion and like color aesthetic and environments. Like they all literally look like a city pop album cover. It's really great. The show just has this really interesting melancholy to it that is something that anime does really specifically well, where it's like the environment and the subject matter is not necessarily melancholy, but like, you know, the character who you're seeing everything through is a pretty fundamentally sad, withdrawn person. And I think Tachibana, the main character, is definitely like a good example of that. But yeah, it's just another one of those really great slice of life / romance shows this season that are absolutely killing it with atmosphere, are chock full of really good, compelling characters. Like there's not a single character on this show that I don't absolutely love and hasn't had a good moment yet.
Actually, like the dude trying to chase her, wasn't Yoshizawa?
He's great.
He's fucking
I really like her like blonde-haired coworker.
Nishida.
I like the guys in the kitchen are really funny. Shockingly enough, like I think the most shocking thing to me is how much I like the boss.
He's such a dweeb. I love it. He's so
such
likable.
A dad, and I could totally see why she likes him, because he's just he is charming. He's charming. He's goofy. He's incredibly like attendant and sweet, and very, you know, very attentive to his workers' needs, and very, very just a good person so far. I'm really excited to see where this show goes because it's interesting. It's an interesting premise that has a lot of opportunity to go off the rails, but I somehow suspect that this show is going to be pretty damn good until the last episode, and I'm excited to take that ride.
It's going to be right. I have no idea where they're going to go with it because there was a bit of a confession at the end of episode 2, but of course it's just like, oh, I thought you hated me. I'm glad you don't.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it didn't go anywhere.
I think it's going to go somewhere. I think we got the opposite.
I don't really care at this point. It's going
to be a fun ride.
It's a good show. But it would not be the first romance or slice of life show that didn't end up going anywhere.
One thing that I really like that unfortunately doesn't have too much to do with the anime is just the locale. It's set in Yokohama, which is rare. It's so close to Tokyo, you don't see it. But like coffee, not even date, but they go and get coffee at the end of episode 2, and I recognize the Ferris wheel outside. So that's a neat locale, and I love when they tie it into real life, and it's not just a nameless suburb.
Yeah, it's just an incredibly pretty show with some shockingly good character animation, like very, very good character acting in the first 2 episodes.
Tachibana's eyes are also just insane.
Well, yeah, Wit Studio has their own in-house makeup department that like advises on all of their shows. I think it started with Cabaneri and is basically continued. There's like incredibly noticeable difference between the eyes in season 1 and season 2 of Attack on Titan. Season 2 happened after they kind of added that whole department, so that is something that they absolutely specialize in, and it adds a whole lot of humanity and like dynamism to like close-ups of characters, especially female characters that have like a lot of makeup and a lot of color to their eyes. It's pretty great. I've been enjoying it a lot more than I thought I was going to. It's actually probably my favorite thing I've seen so far this season. A lot of which is just because the visuals are just so much my shit. So yeah, don't sleep on that just because it's on Amazon, because if you have a Prime subscription now, all anime that they have licensed,
Anime Strike is no more.
Yeah. So all right, Karakai Jozu no Takagi-san. I actually have been watching this.
Okay, I was
been watching it and enjoying it.
So this is one of my favorite manga that's running right now. It's very simply about a girl who teases a boy in middle school, but she's really like demonically good at it, and he tries to get the best of her, and just she's one step ahead the entire time. It's also like really obvious that they have like really cute crushes on each other, but nothing's gonna happen because that's not allowed. Yeah,
I think my only nitpick with this show is that Takagi acts so much older than a middle school student actually would.
Well, I think half of that is Takashi Rie, her voice actress, like goes into her straight up like sultry voice occasionally.
Yeah,
it's just like oh, I like it, and then I like go back into oh shit, they're in middle school. No, I don't like this. This is awful.
Yeah, she's like a little girl.
And it's like imagine Amelia from ReZero teasing you.
Yeah,
that's all you need to like the show.
It's a good show.
It's really cute.
It's just basically every episode is just like a series of vignettes, really, that you just kind of witness their relationship through. It's an interesting premise that I did not think I would be so captivated by, but yeah, the characters definitely carry it.
It's written really, really well. The characters are great. I don't know anybody that's seen it or tried to watch it that doesn't like both the characters. They're both like really earnest.
Also, Inori Minase voices one of the side characters. Yeah, she's really great.
One of the things that I was worried about, because the manga you can read a chapter in like 30 seconds. It's normally just like one trick and that's it. I was worried about how they were going to make this 20 something.
Yeah.
And they I forgot that the author has another manga set in the same school called Ashita wa Doyobi, which is tomorrow Saturday or Sunday. I don't know. Japanese is hard. But it's really nice because they pad it out with that, and it doesn't feel like it's dragging ever. Like it feels like a proper 20-minute something episode.
It's interesting.
I'll be watching this one through, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I have not watched any of this.
Yeah, you don't need to. I've been keeping up on Junji Ito collection, which is for all intents and purposes you can just consider not existing. I've just been watching it simply for scientific reasons. It's a Studio Dean joint, which I really can't imagine a studio that is less visually interesting than Studio Dean. So that should tell you basically everything you need to know about an anime adaptation of fucking Junji Ito's works. Yeah, it's bad, and the production is already falling apart. I guess I should say that it really speaks to the unsettling quality that Junji Ito gives all of his works, that somehow still I have managed to multiple times feel very creeped out watching this anime. Nothing has ever, truly frightened me, but Junji Ito is not really so much about fright as he is about like atmosphere and dread. And yeah, like even some parts of the show, just simply based on the quality of the source material alone, have given me some chills. And but I'm not going to give any credit to Studio Dean or the director.
Are these full length?
Yeah, they're full length, but they're anthology episodes, so there's like more than one. They're all based on mostly his short stories. Viz Media just released a collection called Shiver, like at the end of last year, that are basically what all of these are being adapted. Like they're all of his famous short stories that aren't the ones that are at the end of his long ones, like Tomie or Gyo. Like there's not like Amigara Fault, which is crazy. I don't know how you do a fucking Junji Ito anthology series and don't adapt the Enigma of the Amigara Fault.
I have no idea if that's as popular in Japan as it is here, though. Here, it's like everybody knows that in Gyo.
Yeah, I want to. Well, actually, it was an import from 2Channel, so that meme. So, or it's not really. It's not even a meme. It's just creepypasta, kind of, but pre-prepared. But yeah, it is. It at least has some of that well-known status. I mean, it is one of his more influential short stories. So yeah, I mean, it's adapting. Like honestly, I would not be surprised if I got to the point where, because they are adapting one chapter from Tomie, which is a super long-running work that he's done that has like fucking 10 live-action movie adaptations or something at this point in Japan. So I'll be at least watching for that, because that's something that I'm familiar with, because I'm not really too familiar with a lot of the stories that they're adapting in this, mostly because until Shiver was released, they were kind of just scattered to the wind in the US. But yeah, it's not good. I wouldn't suggest that anybody watch it unless you're as big of a fan of Junji Ito as I am. And even now, I'm just watching it just to see how fucking bad it can get. But
hate watching is a thing.
It sucks. Like it's, I don't know if we're ever going to get a good Junji Ito anime adaptation, because it really would take like, it would basically take somebody like Masahiko Minami, who's willing to throw a bunch of money at a passion project to make something super weird and visually interesting that is not going to sell very well. Because Junji Ito does not need any help selling his manga. So there's not really the necessity for an anime adaptation. Like, I don't really know why this is even a thing if they're not going to put that much effort into it. It really makes me angry. Like, not a whole lot of things make me angry in this industry nowadays, but like someone like Junji Ito not getting his due as like one of the most influential horror mangaka of all time in this shitty, awful show where it's just like a 2D object scrolling from one side of the screen to the other, and that's an entire shot, it's a travesty. But
someday.
Complaints for another time. I don't think someday. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but...
Oh, just win the Powerball.
Yeah, win the Powerball.
Be Elon Musk and make your own anime.
Yeah. Okay, Beatless. This is the other Amazon show.
This is interesting. I went into this with so many mixed expectations. Real quick, Beatless is like a mixed media project. On our site, we have it as novel because that's what I thought it was, but it originally came from a figurine of all things. So we're like a Black Rock Shooter level of weird here. But from the figurine, it turned into like a concept idea with Red Juice doing a bunch of illustrations. From there, it turned into like a music project, and eventually it got a serialized sci-fi story in a magazine. And that got released as a novel, and it's won some decent sci-fi awards in Japan. And here we are with the anime. What it's about, Beatless, is, from what I've got from the first 2 episodes, is kind of like really high quality robots are a part of everyday life, almost like Bicentennial Man style.
Yeah.
And a couple of them are much more high quality than others, and it seems like they did kind of a jailbreak of their creators area. And our main character is somebody who holds them in really high regard. Like society is just like, the robots, whatever. In fact, there's somebody going around like destroying them.
Yeah, the society is like somewhere between like actively hating them and just being indifferent to them.
So we've got our main character who treats them as people pretty much. And honestly, it reminds me almost of Kirito and Sword Art Online and his view towards the AI inhabitants of Aincrad, saying, yeah, they're AI, but that doesn't mean you got to be a dick to them. Like they're still living their lives, even if they are a robot.
Right.
And so of course he gets this awesome one called Alacia that does all the housework and is a model. But I put that really badly. It's a lot more interesting than that. There's definitely going to be battle ahead. This is another 2-core show. I was really shaky on it because like such a weird sci-fi thing, and I really didn't trust it from the character designs and everything in it as much as I love Red Juice. It looks pretty trashy, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of sci-fi and specifically Isaac Asimov, and I get some real fucking Asimov vibes from this, and I hope that continues and it doesn't go into too much of a battle thing. Like the second episode is named Analog Hack, and Lacey gets tapped to become a model. They're called HIEs. It's like high intelligence. That doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
But so they go through and they use Lacia as a model, and like this crowd groups up behind her, and the whole thing like climaxes in Shibuya with a massive crowd, and other models show up and they split them, and the person who orchestrated the whole thing is just like, yeah, we call that an analog hack, and it's pretty much social engineering. It's just like, we know that we can get massive crowds to do this, and then even more people show up. We can use the robots to be able to do that. And that's just like a really cool sociological idea to get into an anime. I don't think I've ever seen one tackle social engineering before.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
And if the show keeps on doing stuff like that, it's easy to see why it won sci-fi awards, and it's easy to see why I'll keep watching. And the music is incredible. Yeah,
I was going to say, we shouldn't bury the lead on the music because KZ from Lifetune is responsible for not only the original compilation album, but also he did a new... Not the opening.
He did the Claris song.
But he's done at least one insert song so far. And
even if you don't like anything of what I just said, is worth it for the music. It's like premiere, like it's what's popular in like clubs in Japan.
Yeah, it's some of the bigger names in Japanese dance music for the past couple of years. The second episode had a Poslam System song in it, and that actually was from the original compilation album, so you could expect to see more stuff. Like I know Band Vox is on.
Band Vox is on there.
There's a KZ
Monolith
tune with Nergillis on there as well that I wouldn't be surprised if it showed up at some point. So yeah, at the very least the music is going to be
if you don't like anything I said, the music is really good, and we aren't hearing anything like that in anime right now.
Totally.
KZ has done a bunch of openings. If you like the Ori Emo opening or even Madoka, he was the guy that he didn't do Madoka, but he works with Claris almost exclusively now.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of stuff like that, and it's a really unique sound that really works in the show too.
Oh, I mean, also, if you're a Miku fan, Tell Your World was kind of KZ.
If you're a Miku fan, then you definitely know KZ.
That's probably his thing.
It is. It was in a Google Chrome commercial.
Fucking weird. But yeah, I mean, it has potential.
I was really surprised by it. I was so ready to write it off, and I'm liking it.
This fucking anime world that we live in, that's all based around 13 episode shows now. It trains you almost, especially when you're someone like me who like is kind of been reactivated in just this type of structure for like how anime are made nowadays, like based on seasons. It's almost jarring sometimes when you have a show that actually takes its time because it is 26 or episodes or longer continuously. So and it's something we're gonna have to get used to this season because there's
there's a lot of them. I'm about it.
Yeah, it's nice. One that isn't a full length show, at least not in the traditional sense, is Popotepipiku or Pop Team Epic.
I was so ready to hate this.
Yeah, me too.
Man, I love it.
I think I was less ready to hate it than you, just because I have much less experience with it.
Yeah,
so,
I had a lot more. I'm sorry, I underestimated you.
This show also has a pretty unbearable fan base, or the manga has a pretty unbearable fan base in the West. Basically, every annoying person that I know online likes it. So it's the anime though. Is a very interesting thing.
Epic shitposting,
especially from a production side, because this is another one of those shows that is kind of presented through vignettes, almost like Robot Chicken style.
Yeah, it's very similar to Robot Chicken.
In the sense that like every single one is worked on or animated by a different studio, and by studio sometimes I mean like 3 people.
Yeah, well, it's like there's like 4 groups that do them.
Yeah, there's a French studio that's working on this too, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, it's a weird fucking art. It's an art anime. Like it's just full on like an art project.
And I'm really dumb and full of references.
Yeah.
I think my favorite way I've heard it described was actually my girlfriend call it golden trash.
Yeah.
Just like that's pretty cool. So it's a lot of people are calling it a meme show, which I think is dumb and I don't agree with.
But it's reductive, unnecessarily reductive.
There's a lot of like really funny parodies, like so he said Mark said it's almost a short, but that's because it's 2 halves that are repeated with different voice actors, always a male pair and a female pair. And they'll do funny stuff like the third one, the newest one. It was Cell and Frieza's voice actors doing a PP and Popoco, and they actually like made a lot of Dragon Ball references because of that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of really fun stuff like that.
It is very much of the modern anime comedy landscape, whereas like a lot of absurdist humor and a lot of references, and that's kind of what the show is built on. And if you like modern anime humor with a much weirder bent, then Pop Team Epic is probably going to be for you. I don't know. I honestly don't know if I'm going to be able to watch it too regularly, only because for some reason Crunchyroll has just been getting the most awful audio masters for their version of Pop Team Epic.
Watch it on High Dive.
Yeah,
it's been better. The subs have been better on High Dive too.
Yeah, I don't really understand what's going on Crunchyroll's side there, because it's I don't know if it's their issue or what, but other streaming services aren't having it. So I don't really know what's going on there.
A couple of notes before we move on. I think it's High Dive. They have a dub, and I've only seen one scene dubbed.
Of Pop Team Epic?
Yeah.
What?
Only like I don't know if it's just a preview.
It?
I think so, because the one it's an official dub. What I saw on Twitter, and it was just the beef or chicken cut.
That's super weird.
It was really fucking funny. It was really good. I almost feel like the show might be better dubbed.
That's weird.
Like it's one of those where it's just like gratuitously vulgar, and sometimes that just works better in your home language.
Yeah.
That's really good. Another thing is I didn't think I was going to be able to watch more of it after episode 1. I was just like, this is a weird ass fever dream. And then I saw the second episode. I'm just like, no, I kind of love this. The amount of effort they went into is incredible. Like they had a whole dance scene made with like felt models, which I can't imagine how many hundreds of hours that took.
I will say the other thing about this is it technically is not a full-length anime, because it is just the same 12 minutes repeated twice.
Yeah. Minute differences.
With different voice actors.
Yeah, occasionally there's little differences too.
Yeah, but basically you can get away with only watching the one. And I would suggest you do so unless you want to lose your fucking mind.
All of it.
I don't know how anybody in their right mind could sit through both.
When the second half is Cell and Frieza.
All right, we'll check back in with you after 13 episodes of that shit, and we'll see how sane you are. Speaking of sanity or lack thereof, let's talk about the anime of this year. Sanrio, boys.
I'm a bad person because this anime is pretty much me, and I haven't seen an episode yet.
You should watch this show.
I know it's right up my alley. One of my things I have always been like staunchly in defense of is a man's right to unabashedly love cute things.
Fuck toxic masculinity. And gender
exactly.
rules.
And I thought this show was going to be all about selling Sanrio merch, which it is. It definitely is.
Let's make no mistake.
Yeah. At the same time, evidently, as I've been seeing through the capital D discourse, it's got a lot of really hard hitting storylines in it, and all of them are relevant to hating on toxic masculinity.
The story beats in this are shockingly emotionally poignant. It is a show about fighting toxic masculinity that also happens to just be a complete product tie-in to Sanrio products. So
I can do both.
As long as you can. Here's how it was described to me by someone on Twitter that nobody's ever done a better job of describing the show. It is a show about a group of queer boys in high school, except for any mention of being gay or queer has been replaced with Sanrio merchandise. And that is literally as soon as I started seeing it through that
Is it now
lens,
the only way to see it?
It is to a startling degree the only way to see it. Like, to the point where I'm starting to think that, like, you know, there's some firsthand experience or something involved with the show, because it's crazy.
That would be ironic, because one of the things we talked about last season was Welcome to the Ballroom and how anti-gay it was.
Yeah.
This was like, I wouldn't say announced, but the Welcome to the Ballroom panel where I learned how the director felt about it was the same one where they like push Sanrio Boys.
Sanrio Boys is I'm willing to go on the record right now. Sanrio Boys is already a better anime than Welcome to the Ballroom.
I fully intend to watch it. I just haven't gotten around to it.
It's a good show. I like the characters so far. I like the premise is super weird. Like, bunch of, like, it's just like Sanrio characters in general to me are super fucking strange, and like it was such a weird phenomenon that I get but also completely don't get. So it's a whole new world for me. And there is definitely a part in the second episode where they go to like a Sanrio gift gate, which is a type of like gift shop that they have in like malls and stuff.
Sure.
And all the backgrounds are literally just photos of like unaltered photos with like a slight cartoon filter on them of just like the gift gate in like Shibuya or whatever. Like it's a fun show, and it also has like some serious story beats. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely an ad, but if you can get past that, then you'll like it.
You know, it's not a good show.
You want to know what I dropped after the first episode?
I'm surprised you made it through the first episode. Yeah. So Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody is one that I was actually kind of low-key looking forward to because I enjoy the manga. I'm going to keep enjoying the manga without watching the show.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Like, it looks ugly. It's poorly acted. It's poorly directed.
The main character is...
He's pretty boring.
What's the opposite of beyond reproach?
I don't even know.
Inside of reproach.
Sure.
He is reproach personified. Anyway, let's talk about a good show, Patrick.
Yeah.
Let's talk about actually the last show on this. Let's talk about Katana Maidens.
Talk about a show that I didn't think I was going to like.
This
is a show that was made to sell a phone game that isn't out yet, which, if y'all recall, the last time that happened, it was Bang Dream. Y'all probably don't recall that.
This is, I think, going better than Bang Dream so far.
I really enjoyed Bang Dream and the game. I don't even know why I made that comparison. But Katana Maidens Toji no Miko, yeah, this is...
it's actually been pretty good so far. The premise especially is...
That's totally up your alley. I was like, whatever.
Well,
but
I mean,
the execution has been really good.
I just mean like the premise of like the main conflict is completely outside of what I was expecting. I was fully expecting a cute girls slashing swords at each other tournament arc, and instead it's like, no, we're fucking on the lam because we just tried to assassinate them.
So real quick, what the story is, it's about these young girls called Miko, which is, you know, just a shrine priestess, but in this universe they are tasked with using swords that I can't tell if they're like demon infused or something. They have some sort of magical properties.
They all have names.
Yeah, they're all named, and they all have properties that go with the name. Like the sword chooses the girl, and you know that whole deal. And these girls have, you know, somewhat magical powers that let them like move fast and fight good. Yeah. I'm doing a really poor job of this, but basically it's set up so we begin in a tournament in Kamakura, and they get to the end, and you know, one girl, her whole reason for being at the tournament is for a chance to assassinate the like head of the department of the government that handles these girls. And
it turns out the reason why she wants to assassinate her is because she is possessed by an Aradama, which is like the demon things that they're fighting. This woman is known as like the Great Miko or something. Like she defeated a very famous Aradama many years ago, and is now... turns out she didn't, and it in fact just like took her over. Yeah, it's like impersonating her. And which is really cool. That's a good idea for a villain. Crazy, totally unexpected way for that show to go for me, because like you have two conflicts that they set up in when they tell you about the show. It's, you know, the Aradama, you think, okay, well, they're going to easily be, especially if this is a phone game, they're totally going to be the main villains, and they're just, the show is going to be like probably a tournament arc, and then they'll become Miko, and then they'll go fight them. This is another 2-core show. Yep. And instead, the first episode is literally like one girl tries to assassinate the like prime Miko, and another girl who wants to fight her on equal terms saves her. Yeah. And then is just like, let's get the fuck out of here. And then now the show has just been them like figuring out what to do and like political intrigue and backstabbing, and it's been
good.
Good.
The action is really good too, and it's we're getting more and more of the universe. Like we know the main girl is so strong because she like fights somebody in her dream all the time. I don't know what the fuck's going on there. It's cool. There's a lot of stuff going on. It all meshes well, and it's entertaining to watch.
You kind of hinted at it before, but it also plays in that very traditional Japanese, like a very modified version of that traditional Japanese aesthetic that I am a huge fucking fan of. Like, you know, very like
modern twist on that.
Old school seifuku and like very ornate swords and like a lot of like the Kyoto-esque buildings.
Well, like where they held that tournament at Kamakura, that's like the old school like shogunate seat. Yeah. So that's like steeped in sword history, and the locale was very on point with that.
Yeah. I'm really like the design aesthetic of the show is very good. And yeah, it's just like it's a nice little cherry on top for this season. Like this season definitely does not have a show like this. Just like cute girls fighting each other is like kind of a, you know, it's kind of a genre. It's a genre I very much like. But this is a lot better than I was expecting. So, I'm very happy that the show is good, because I actually kind of just put it on here as an afterthought, just because I was just like, you know, Crunchyroll is on the production committee. Like they seem to be pushing it. I figured I'd give the first episode a shot and see if I liked it, and boy, it went to a different place than I thought.
It's definitely worth to note that the studio that's doing it, Gokumi, are mostly well known for Yuki Yuna, Yushide Aru. Yeah. So like girls fighting things getting dark is like not something that would be too surprising.
Given everything that they're setting up in the show, I would not be surprised if shit got real bad. The
Aradama are cool. Honestly, like the way they fight, this is gonna sound why can't I think of the name of it? The thing that Total Eclipse, there we go, Muv-Love. The way the enemies are and the way it's like children who are like part of the state fighting them reminds me a bit of the original setting of Muv-Love, and there's a little bit of a atmospheric similarity, I'd even go so far as to say. So if you're a fan of that, with the like crazy ass demons and stuff, it's really good. I was not
expecting a Muv-Love comparison here, but
no, it's up there.
Yeah, it's you know, if you're looking for something to round out your season, this is definitely the one.
You know, this might be the most anime thing on our list.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know.
Beatless is pretty
Beatless is pretty fucking anime.
Beatless is pretty anime, yeah.
Yeah, this is not that anime of a... I don't know. That's pretty anime, too.
Yeah.
Ryuo's work is never done. It's pretty fucking anime.
Dang, people are sleeping on that guy.
Yeah, Natsu no Taizai is pretty fucking anime, too. Yeah, I mean... In terms of anime-ass anime, Katana Maidens is a pretty classic.
Katana Maidens could have come out in 2006.
Exactly. But I'm glad it didn't, because I would have never seen it.
It's definitely been a fun surprise.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes, and that's not something that I thought I'd be saying about a show that I almost didn't put on our preview list. But
yeah.
Have you seen anything else besides what we just talked about?
Let me pull up the list, because I know there was at least one, and I thought about this when we started recording 37 years ago.
While you're doing that, we actually do have one more question from, boy, I wish I could remember his name on Twitter.
Mauricio.
Is it Mauricio Cuervo?
I think so.
Yeah, Mauricio Cuervo on Twitter. I'm sorry I can't remember your Twitter handle right now, because I'm actually reading off of an email. This is the guy that, remember the guy that likes Crossange?
I sure do. That's not why I was laughing.
The one other person in the world that likes Crossange.
No, there's at least 3 of us.
This is that guy.
I'm gonna paraphrase.
Yeah, I'm gonna paraphrase, because also he does apologize. English is not his first language, so I'm gonna try to paraphrase here. Basically, he wants to know, specifically in a music sense, is there any like music from an anime that will just immediately make you cry when you hear it, or just in general, like what are some of just like
some shows?
I think a good way to frame it would probably be, what shows can you still watch today that will make you just fucking lose it?
Clannad is definitely one, and it's not just one song from Clannad. There's certain beats in it that just like immediately flushes me with emotion, remembering playing the game, especially. So many characters have their own songs and so many moments. That's the first one that came to mind for a song that can just make me die inside.
Yeah.
That's most of the music in Clanad.
I know it's probably going to be the same with you, but Faye Valentine's episode in Cowboy Bebop with her backstory is a world-ending.
I'm getting goosebumps remembering it.
Powerfully sad episode.
The cheerleader video.
Yeah, the cheer, like, go me, is that, as soon as she says go me and looks in the camera, I fucking lose my shit every time. Also, the song Blue from the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack, that ballad is very, very powerful for me. I immediately lose it. Another anime that I just kind of just cry at just because I love it so much is Die Buster.
Yeah, no, Die Buster, the ending of Die Buster will always get me.
The ending specifically, but also just like every important, like the Inazuma double kick at the end is
it's really good.
Such an amazing old school,
I just had
ridiculous. Also like if we're talking about like specifically from a music sense, like there's a lot of music from Die Busters just because. It's a lot of it is music from Gunbuster, and it carries a lot of importance to really anyone that likes that series. So like the end credits music in Die Buster.
Oh yep, that's enough right there. I'm getting goosebumps again.
To just fucking absolutely destroy me.
There are a few episodes in Cardcaptor Sakura that definitely do it to me. One, because if you haven't watched it or read it, first of all, stop doing this and do that.
Yeah.
But her mother like dies in childbirth, I think, and she's a very, very young mother, but she's like spiritually present. That's a big thing. Anything doing with her, and specifically Sakura's father, like reminiscing, just immediately stabs me through the heart. And there's an episode where they go out camping, and of course Sakura's dad knows this, but you as the viewer don't know it. She winds up hanging out with an old man, and the old man is related to her. I want to say grandfather. It's been a while. I remember
you guys talking about this on Twitter.
Exactly. Yeah. And like you're sitting there screaming stranger danger, and it's just like he's being so nice and kind, and every alarm is ringing, and you realize, oh my God, I'm about to start crying remembering it. You're just like, oh my God, Sakura is his granddaughter, and like this is like the first time that he's really got to know her, and that's why he's like trying so hard. And he shows up a few more times later, and just every episode that man is in is just massive tearjerker.
Yeah. Some more recent stuff. Obviously, the first episode of Plastic Memories is don't watch that unless you don't want to cry. The last episode of Gakugarashi with the dog School Live. Yeah. I remember like laying in my bed on a Saturday morning, like waking up and watching that and just being like, I was not done for the ready day. For this. Like just screaming because that dog was so tiny and cute, and seeing it just kind of like whimper and being sick is like. Sick dogs, man. Yeah. I can't fucking handle sad animals. Like it just absolutely ends me. Rakugo.
Yeah.
All the time, crying every episode of that show.
The fucking Jugamu got me so good in that.
If I was to point to one moment in that show that over everything just absolutely made me like physically break down and start heaving, was the part where Kiku is actually about to cross the river, and you see Matsubara there like with the oar. Yeah. He's just like, I get to see you one more time. It was just fucking that really and the moment where Kiku's being led around town by what's his name? Sukeroku, and they see Miyokichi for the first time, and she's just like, Kiku-san, like she's very calm about it, but I remember just like that recognition on her face was just like fucking so. That show, seriously, if you have not watched that show, it is easily one of the best anime ever made. Like it's so good, it will fucking destroy you as a person. It's amazing.
I don't want to spoil anything, but also Crossing Game episode 1 still gets me.
Yeah,
that's really good. Or not Crossing Game. I'm sorry, Cross Game. There's a bunch, and I'm like remembering and forgetting, but there's
Little Busters, Hybrid Rainbow, easy.
Yeah,
still get choked up.
Fucking Anohana. There we go. The ending of Anohana will wreck me.
Well, I mean, what about Your Lie in April? Obviously, I haven't even seen that show, and I know it's a fucking tearjerker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell just from like the cover
I'm just art. I'm trying to think of stuff that's not necessarily from a show that is known for being sad that made me cry. I mean, there's so much.
Fullmetal Alchemist, Mise. when his daughter is just like, why are they putting Daddy in the ground? He has more work to do. no.
I mean, it
No.
is literally become a meme at this point. But like the whole thing with Roy, where he says it's a terrible day for rain, is still
no, it's
fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Like, what an incredible line of dialogue that is. It's handled so well too, especially in I love the way that whole scene plays out in Brotherhood, because like they somehow managed to make it even harder to watch.
Yeah, no, they did it.
Yeah. I just love Roy Mustang as a character too, and like seeing
fantastic.
characters like that are so like stoic and hardened, like cry, is fucking
it just hits you that much harder.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who watch it and were fine until they see Roy crying, and then
that was it for me.
For me, it took the daughter.
I knew it was coming. I was like,
it's a
here
meme.
comes a meme, and I was like laughing and also crying at the same time. So it was like,
the best.
God damn it.
So as we wrap up, there were two that I wanted to mention that weren't on our preview, and the first is Killing Bites. Do you know Killing Bites? Killing Bites, and I started laughing when you started talking about Koyame, because this is the other Noitamina show, I'm pretty sure, which is why it's on Amazon. Killing Bites is I'm sorry, it's taking me a second. So there's this concept in Japan of zaibatsu, which are like these massive financial conglomerates that control Japan. Basically, they're still around.
Tekken.
We all know about the zaibatsu. So basically, the zaibatsu now fight proxy wars by genetically engineering people with animal genes and make them fight.
This show.
This one. And it reminds me of like Bento, but not as good, but equally as ridiculous, because the main character, I wasn't going to watch the second episode, but the main character's animal is the fucking honey badger.
Oh my god!
So she turns into like honey badger. Also, there's just like straight up tits in it. I was surprised. I was just like, oh, it's one of those
uncensored.
Yeah, uncensored, straight up titties on Amazon.
Noitamina is a pretty late. That's a late block, isn't it?
Yeah, they also didn't get the source from Noitamina, because that's on network. It would have been censored. I'm pretty sure it's Noitamina. I could be wrong.
That's interesting.
The other one is a show that I like completely missed leading up to this season, and I'm surprised because one of my favorite idols is in it. Himitasu is in it. It's How to Care for a Mummy.
Yeah, I've seen some gifs.
Yeah, that show
Twitter.
is sickeningly cute. Basically, it's a kid whose father is like off studying in Egypt or something, and sends him this like massive like Dracula coffin. She's like, "Hey, there's a mummy in here. Take care of it." And he's just like, "Oh no, what the hell did my dad send me this time?" And it's just this like cute little 3-inch tall like
I love shit like
soft mummy.
That is either the beginning to a heartwarming cute story or just a full on hentai.
It really could have been
a high school aged boy whose crazy eccentric dad sends him something or someone from overseas is the most common hentai premise of all time.
Yeah, it's
that's really funny.
It's really cute. I wasn't gonna watch it.
Is it a short?
No, it's full. It's full.
Shit.
It's the 2 episodes are into it, and the cuteness is still worth watching it for. It's got a slightly larger cast. I feel like we're gonna get more like, well, not mummies, other just like random occult pets.
Is that
I feel like they're gonna show up. That's on
Crunchyroll?
Crunchyroll. Nice. I think it's like How to Keep a Mummy or something like that. Just search for mummy, you'll find it. It's adorable, and Himitasu is one of the female leads in it, which is great, and I love her.
Well,
I think that's a wrap.
I think that's a wrap on this episode. So yeah,
real quick, viewers out there, I am going to be in Japan soon. If you have anything in particular that's going on there, or a movie that's out that you want us to talk about, shoot us an email, hit us on Twitter, because I don't have a lot of plans yet.
Yeah.
If there's something in particular that's going on that you think might pique my interest and you would like to hear me talk about on the show, hit me up.
So yeah, just to reiterate, we are going to dedicate an episode to Devilman Crybaby. I want to talk about this show so bad, and the only reason we're not is because we are trying to make some big plans. Those plans are not set in stone yet, and since Patrick is going to Japan in the middle of February, they could change. But before he leaves, we will have some sort of Devilman Crybaby episode. If it's just us, or if it's us and a bunch of other people, we'll have something for you. So please look forward to that. That'll probably be our next episode, regardless of what happens. Onoanime.moe is the website. Go subscribe to us on YouTube, and we have been releasing a lot of Ono Anime Radio episodes.
Yeah, they're pretty damn good too.
We have one going up later this week. Again, it'll be like the third one in as many weeks. And we have some more exciting stuff lined up there. So if you're not subscribed, it's soundcloud.com/Ono Anime Radio. Go subscribe there. Obviously, the episodes go up in our regular podcast feed too, but those numbers going up on SoundCloud means a lot to everybody involved. So go do that as well. We're almost at 1,000 subs on YouTube. We should
That's
probably
disgusting.
talk off mic about what we're going to do for
absolutely
that too.
Horrifying.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Why?
I don't know. I literally remember it like it was yesterday where we were doing 100 subs was a big deal. But anyways, guys, thanks for listening. Go do all that stuff. Email us onoanime@gmail.com if you have any questions or comments. We'll read it out like we did on the show. Or hit us up on Twitter @onoanime. We're always watching. And we will see you next time.
Yeah, Blitz and Dagon.
God damn it. Fuck.